everybody to our bonus DVD extra episode 24 thing.
The most content we try to give you because we need validation and hate criticism. So please validate us and criticize G. G?
Daddy issue Chris.
Yes. I could say so much stuff about that, but it's like moderately offensive.
To your dad?
No. To people with daddy issues.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
It's like I'm not selling feet pics yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Coming soon.
Dude, okay, random topic. But
Chris's
there's
feet.
a whole Wikipedia page called WikiFeet.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, and it has like random celebrities' feet on it.
Dude,
I don't
understand
strange.
the foot fetish, which is, I guess that's yeah, who gives a shit?
That's why it's called a fetish?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why you keep growing that thing you call a beard, but...
It's because I'm so deep into it that if I just shave it off, it's just white here.
And now you just perfectly described why people like foot fetishes. There you go. You're welcome. I just made it real for you.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
How?
Because you're so deep into it.
Oh, no. I mean, this isn't a fetish. It just makes me look younger.
I was just saying...
You can't compare me growing a beard to a foot fetish.
No, I was trying to rationalize it in your brain.
Oh.
And you did, but you're still not understanding what you said.
Thanks for calling me an idiot, Chris. Appreciate it.
Dude, if I was going to call you an idiot, I'd say,
rocking
gee,
the
you're an
sunnies?
idiot. Oh, are we? I was scratching my head.
I thought you were putting the sunnies.
No, I'm definitely not going to do that.
Oh, I look like a douche.
All right. If you're a douche. Oh, my headphones are in the way. Hold on.
You look pretty cool, though. You look like a grumpy old man with that.
All right. Anyway.
Oh.
So are we starting over?
No,
Is it?
This is it. This is the deal.
I'm trying to balance my glasses.
For those who have never listened to our DVD extras, we just kind of blabber and jabber about over what we want.
Mm-hmm.
In the last topic, we were talking about evolution of trends, and we were saying we're going to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
And we will for like 30 seconds.
Well, I think you wanted to kind of dig a little deeper into the music trends of everything.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of music trends that are kind of coming up now, like that very retro vibe that the Weeknd kind of...
That good vibe?
That
out
good
now
vibe.
on every streaming platform available in the world. Probably not.
Yeah. I don't know. Dude, I've been doing finger guns a lot lately, too. I don't know why.
That's a lot of edit, man.
Yeah.
Stop it.
You don't actually edit these ones like that, though, so...
Oh, no, just, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, music trends are kind of weird, too. And I feel like they can come back, but it's always like... I don't know. Like at some point, I want to say during the 90s, there was like, we kind of peaked in like creativity of like what we can do. And then it's just like,
Okay.
And it's just like a,
I think that's funny that you say that because there's a lot of not good things in the 90s.
Oh, there's terrible things in the 90s, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, that was like the beginning of the end.
Like grunge. Grunge was cool, but grunge wasn't going to live outside the 90s.
No, you're right.
So it's like that trend was doomed to die.
Techno's
still alive.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really a 90s trend. That was like 80s.
Like the late 80s.
And then it's survived through the 90s.
Yeah, EDM.
Also, like kind of talking about
It's
techno.
so much easier to do, though.
You remember when you were saying Street Fighter is a better franchise?
Yeah.
And but that Mortal Kombat like theme that went platinum. I learned that fact after our conversation.
Like the movie, not the movie, the video game.
The theme,
the music video,
the theme.
or
I think I said that.
The theme, like the theme
the
song.
Mortal Kombat theme.
Song.
It's literally called the Mortal Kombat theme.
Song.
Yes.
Oh, from the movie.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? It's from the movie, not from the actual video game.
Well, I mean, the video game is like didn't have the technology to put that on there.
Whoopsie.
So yeah, that's literally the best they could do.
And the best it was back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like with drums, like I really wish there's like a swing like trend that comes back with the drum, like the drumming.
That came back in the 90s.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about now. 90s were.
But I'm saying that
ago.
trend already came back and it died because it wasn't good.
I don't know.
Because you went from the 50s to like the 90s.
Yeah.
When that trend came back. So what is that? 40 years?
Math.
So you have to wait another 10 years or 20. How long was it going?
Don't say it like that.
Yeah, you have to wait another 10 years.
That.
You have to wait another 10 years before swing can come
You're
back.
legit saying, and this is what's crazy about it, that from 1950s to like the 1990s was that long, and you're like, oh yeah, we're 10 years away from that. That's terrifying to think that That seems like such a long gap from like 50
The
to 90.
50s to
Yeah.
90s.
And now it's just like, 90s to like, 30s. And you're just like, oh my God, that is coming up so quick. Like how,
Yeah.
time sucks.
Yeah, man.
Cause I'm like, that was such a long time ago. And it's like, yeah, like that span, we're close to that span right now. Oh, don't like that.
All right. That sucks for you, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, there was something like the way people were reminiscing about God, I can't remember the
it's
math.
like kids like reminiscing about like the 80s and 90s is like us reminiscing about like the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, and it was like math. Yeah, something like that. I'm just like,
Like, yeah, the 90s
man.
don't seem that long ago. And you're like, it was at least 20 years ago, depending on what you're talking about.
Well,
fuck.
The 90s was definitely longer than 20 years ago. Because I was born in 89 and I'm 30.
Yeah. Well,
So-
yeah, but I'm saying like,
32.
well, the span from 1990 to 1999 was, it could be 20 years, arguably 20 years ago.
It's 2000 was 21 years ago.
That's true.
So the 90s, regardless of what year, are objectively longer than 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like, well, it could be at least 20 years ago. Whatever. Shut the fuck up. Whatever.
Dude, like, it's not
I know,
at least 20.
I know,
It's
I
at
know.
least
More than 20.
22 years ago.
Well, it's at least 20. Whatever. Who's on first?
What's on second?
I don't know. It's on third. What does he say?
I don't remember the bit.
I'm.
That bit is old as shit.
It's so good though. That's one of those like.
It's
bits.
okay. It hasn't really survived like the test of time.
No, I mean I remember watching that in high school and be like, this is really funny. This is awesome.
High school was 15 years ago, dude.
It was not 13. Okay.
Oh, so
Fuck.
you get a 2-year like variance, and my variance is bad.
No, mine is more specific because it's really insulting. That's
Oh,
why.
that's fair. Yeah,
God damn, that's so sad.
dude, that's how time works. Everything gets older, and they stay the same age.
That's such a creepy line from that movie.
know,
That's
the
actually another.
line's so
So
creepy.
there's a subject on our hat that is movies that didn't age well, and that's definitely
I
something we'll
definitely
talk
think
about.
that's gonna go in there or go in that conversation.
Yeah, so
for
make sure you check that one out whenever that comes out.
Yeah, they're random, so it's gonna happen
And
on
they are
episode.
and they are random, you guys. I hope you guys know that when we do this is random.
Yeah, the only time we kind of pick through questions if
It's
there's
when we're drunk.
no, it's not that. It's when the topics are too similar or something we already talked about.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, how are you feeling about this whole thing so far?
What thing are we talking about? Like your thing?
What are we?
Well, you won't like marry me like I've asked you like 15 times because you're like,
What is it that?
bro, I have a girlfriend.
What's that? Key and Peele skit when it's like they're talking about like how like the nation finally legalized marriage or like New York legalized marriage, and it's like one of the dudes is like, it just happened so fast, and like there's like we're gonna get married, and he's just like, we should probably wait, because there's other states out there that don't have like license, like cannot get, we don't get married until everyone else can get married. It's like one of the dudes like wants to get married, the guy doesn't,
Yeah.
and doesn't want to commit. It's one of the funniest sketches ever.
Probably check that out. I like Key and Peele.
Yeah, Key and Peele, or I don't want to compare it to the Chappelle Show.
Dude, okay, so on that, I rewatched a lot of the Chappelle Show, and I honestly barely finished the first season. The Chappelle Show,
Second season's the best one though.
the Chappelle Show again is one of those things that did not stand the test of time very well.
I mean,
it's not very good.
He has a whole segment where he goes around New York saying that, like, to women.
You
that
have New York.
you have great New York boobs.
Yeah, it's gross. It's stupid. It's not even funny. Like, I don't even think I thought it was funny when I was in high school.
I thought it was funny when I was in high school. Now it's just kind of like, ooh.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
But
like, yeah, the Clayton Bigsby sketch is still funny.
oh man.
And there's so many random sketches that are funny, but there's so much filler that's just garbage.
So that's the hardest thing about it too. Is like, he stopped doing it for one because he's just like, I feel like what I'm doing is not productive. He's like, and then I saw this white guy laugh at a joke, but it wasn't like a laugh that was like with me. It was like at me.
Yeah.
How do we, as people who aren't black, watch a show like that, and how do we enjoy it, right? So it's like Clayton Bigsby, like it's funny, but it's also kind of like,
Well,
why is it funny to us, right?
yeah.
I've always wondered about that.
Well, you're brown.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that.
And
doesn't,
I'm half brown, so I think we have a little more
we might have a little bit.
understanding.
Yeah, but it's also not like our experience. You know what I mean? So like the N-word family that he does.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you laugh at that? I mean,
Because,
I could laugh at
because-
it because he does say wetback in there, and I'm just like, oh damn, you went there,
Yeah.
And I'm assuming like Dave
But that's the
Chappelle was
thing is
very.
like There's too many people that are like, "Oh, you're appropriating culture." It's like, no, man. If if it happened to me growing up in America and it's American media, that is part of my culture, regardless of who said it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man.
Oh no, but I mean, but
like my favorite comedians literally came off Kings of Comedy.
Yeah.
Like Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer.
Dude, but also, there's something to be said with them.
All of those, all my favorite comedians are black comedians.
Well, there's something to be said about like Def Jam and Kings of Comedy, like making comedy be more relevant and survive that aspect of it, right? So, at what point does it become a minority's type of comedy, and what point does it become a whole world kind of comedy?
It depends if you grow up with it or not, and that's the thing about like Dave Chappelle is we grew up with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
So is it really like we're not allowed to like it because it's not our same, like we're not allowed to like black comedy because we're not black?
No, that's certainly not what I'm saying.
And is it appropriation of black culture when literally we grew up on Dave Chappelle, so that is part of our culture?
So it's like the whole, and I love that we always bring up Dave Chappelle when it comes to these things, but like
because he's the best.
Like the Pixie skit, which is the one that like kind of like finish everything, right?
Yeah, that one's pretty
like
good.
Some of them are just kind of like, do I laugh at that because he's legit doing like a black stereotype, and is that only supposed to be funny to black people? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's like the hard thing is like
I think it's just supposed to be funny, man. If it's funny, it's funny objectively, no matter what.
Oh man, that's hard though.
The only reason it's not funny is if you're sensitive.
The intentions are, I don't know. See that's also, I don't know, because there's like this one guy who, this is a video I saw like 2 years ago where this dude like was doing comedy. He was a white man doing comedy, and he had like a really really racist character, and like it was like some like.
Well, was it funny?
It was like
funny?
It was like some Huckleberry Finn shit. Like,
yeah. Well,
like,
the question is, was
this guy that we call him N-word Jim? Like, it was like one of those things, and I think it was funny because it was like a white guy making fun of black people, and like it was funny for them, not for me. But the judge is like, this isn't okay for you to do that. He's like, well, it's comedy. Like we can like if it's funny, it's this and that
goes exactly on my point. Is it just wasn't funny?
I mean, it was in bad taste too, though. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, and it just wasn't funny. And like bad taste jokes are in bad taste because they're not funny. So if you take a joke and it's funny and it's like very sensitive subject, but it's still funny, therefore that joke is in bad taste. That's a fine
line for sure, man.
That's what makes great comedians great. That's what made Louis C.K. fantastic, and how a lot of black comedians came out and said like, yo, this is an appropriate way of a white guy saying the N-word, is when he made that joke. And a lot of people supported him on it. And there was very little like backlash against him because he did it in such a creative and funny way that it became not in poor taste. And that's really literally all that defines comedy.
If you were to make that joke now, like for like starting out for the first time, it wouldn't be yeah, but I'm saying like, let's say hypothetically he just started his career now. If you were to say those jokes, it wouldn't be okay. And I agree with that.
I mean, those jokes, that joke is still okay.
From
him specifically.
I mean, I don't know.
That joke is still okay.
I don't know, man. Times are changing, and that's kind of why we have that subject in the hat. But
yeah, have you heard that joke I'm talking about? I'll pull it up after this for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If I cringe, then you'll know my reaction.
Yeah.
Kind of speaking on cultural appropriation, there was a conversation as to like Bruno Mars.
Oh yeah, because he's Puerto Rican.
He's Puerto Rican and grew up in Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's a weird. I mean, that's the world, right? We're all come from weird things, but there's a whole thing of like, and I think there's a lot to be said about Gen Xers specifically trying to not understand the way the world works sometimes.
I think it's a combination of boomers and Gen Xers that are holding on to like.
I mean, it's also millennials though. They're millennials really that start that movement of like, we need to change things and this and that. But okay, here's the whole story. Bruno Mars has been getting a lot of backlash for making black culture or black music, whether it be funk, soul, the things he does really well, and appropriating them because he's not black. I can't agree with that, mainly because he does it well and he does it more as a respect to the art as compared to being like, oh, well, if black people can do it, I can do it too. It's not some Blondie shit where like, she's like, oh, well, hip hop's a thing, so I'm going to rap in this and then make it sound terrible. Like, he does it really well.
Yeah. So. And that goes on. And literally, like, we had this conversation. My response was, dude, what about Wild Cherry? Like, play that funky music, white boy.
It was awesome. It was
awesome. Nobody said shit about that. Nobody is saying shit about that.
Cultural appropriation wasn't really a thing back then.
But you have to realize if it's relevant now. It's retroactive.
No, I know. Hold on. If it's relevant now.
Hold on. You interrupted me.
No, but I'm like agreeing with you. So like if it's relevant now and it's like, dude, that's a really good song, I wouldn't look at it and be like, oh, they're culturally appropriating. I'm like, oh, they did the genre justice.
Yeah.
And at what point do we get to like?
But that's what I'm saying.
Melting pot.
I will say, hands down, cultural appropriation does not exist.
I think it can exist. It's coming to a point where if we're becoming this melting pot that we say we are, what things start becoming just culture for America, not culture for specific races, right?
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing is that there's so many races in the U.S. and a lot of cultures that like come in here that it's hard to be like, oh, you know, like Cinco de Mayo, like cultural appropriation for Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
I don't mind if you celebrate it. I honestly don't, because it's like the excuse to drink cool. Just don't wear like little sombreros.
Yeah, just don't be a stereotype. That's literally all you have to do.
That's honestly,
and
I think
that's not even appropriation. That's just being ignorant.
A dick
at that point. Yeah.
Also, I hate that the word ignorant is used in a bad way.
I mean, because it means someone's stupid.
No, I just think it's someone that's lack of knowledge, man.
Yeah. And people who are stupid have lack of knowledge.
I mean, it's like that. Remember, we're talking about that Buccaneers player who like used an Asian slur and didn't know it was an Asian slur.
Yeah, that was just ignorant.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like he was stupid. It's just like, oh, snap.
Yeah,
like
he's stupid for not knowing that's a slur.
But it's also like, I think once you call something ignorant, you put a negative tone to it. It's like you're like shouting at a person instead of being like, hey man, just letting you know that's not. Don't say that. You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? Oh, snap. Yeah, okay then. Like, you got to learn from the ignorance, and I think when you say ignorant, it's like you're wrong, and you're stupid, and they are.
That's exactly what that word means.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that instead of like using it in a sense of like, oh, you're just ignorant to the subject, and just being like, oh, like you just don't know.
Yeah,
we're just like.
But see, that's the thing is like you're trying to change the definition of what the word means to make it less of a negative tone when that word itself is exactly a negative tone.
It's more of I want to make it less of a fearsome tone. I want it to be like if you're ignorant of something, accept that you are, and not feel like. But not feel ashamed.
Just using the word ignorant though is saying you're lacking knowledge.
Yeah,
which means you're stupid. That's literally definition.
No, but I wouldn't use stupid though. I wouldn't use stupid. I would just be like you're lacking knowledge, and you should grow from that. I think
just that sentence right there by saying you're lacking knowledge sounded like you're being pretentious. So like the person you're talking to.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's only because ignorant is using like. You're just fucking ignorant. So to be like, oh, dude, you're just ignorant to what's going on.
It doesn't matter. Both those sentences sounded exactly the same tone.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Because you don't want it to doesn't mean you're right.
No, I think you're just being ignorant to my thought process.
I think you're being ignorant to how English works and the definition of the word ignorant.
I think you're just being ignorant because I know 2 languages. See, that's pretentious.
Dude, you barely speak English, bro.
I barely speak English in front of you. I speak English.
Barely
everyone
speak
else.
Spanish. No, I'm saying like. You can barely speak English. I would say I would give you 1.5 languages spoken.
I want to slap you so hard in your hand. Do it again.
Do it again. Choke me this time. Ooh, nice compress.
Was my hand cold enough?
No,
because this is like hot.
Yeah. Your hand's definitely not cold. No, you're definitely not cold. Yeah, keep touching me everywhere. You're not cold.
Oh man.
But yeah, anyway, moving past G's ignorance of the word ignorant.
Ignorance is bliss, man.
Yeah, anyway, because like there's a whole thing now with Sebastian Stan's girlfriend. Well, Sebastian Stan's in trouble because of his girlfriend, which I think in itself is stupid.
Sharon Carter?
Yes, Sharon Carter. That's Cap's girl, bro.
I know.
That's Cap's other girl.
That's Cap's.
Okay, let's derail this topic for a second because the
MCU has some really Game of Thrones shit going on.
Yeah, Cap and Agent Carter were a thing, and then Sharon Carter is Peggy Carter's niece, right?
Yeah.
And then he hooked up with both of them.
I don't know if he hooked up with Sharon Carter.
There was definitely a thing. Yeah, and then he went back in time, completely bailed on Sharon Carter, and then became her uncle. So in the whole timeline, right? The whole timeline. So he lived back in time. So the entire time now...
He knows that he made out with this little girl in the timeline.
Is Captain America...
a pedophile?
No. Is Captain America Sharon Carter's biological uncle?
Not biological.
That's the thing. Because they obviously had kids together.
Who?
Captain America and Peggy Carter.
There's no evidence of that.
How can she have a niece if she doesn't have, or like
her Sharon's brother? Or,
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
or Peggy Carter's brother or sister had a kid.
Or yeah, sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Yeah, but he is her uncle.
Not by marriage, not by biologically.
Oh, yes, I said the wrong word. You're right. Yeah, so that's still weird. Like, that's so fucking weird.
He made out
with his niece.
He made out with his niece, but not at the time. So therefore, is it fine?
But it is at the time because of how MCU timeline worked. Because it showed Captain America living through that entire time when he came back as old Cap to give Falcon his shield.
So then you're saying that when Captain America is in the present time in Civil War, there's an old Cap somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
That, I don't know, some Tenet shit.
Yeah, there's two Caps that lived in the timeline simultaneously. One was old. One was the one doing all the cool shit.
I also love the fact that the Captain's just like, nah, other Steve's got this. Young Steve's got this.
Yeah.
What happens if they were to meet?
How fucked is that? Probably nothing.
Will they blow up?
No, I don't think that's how time works.
In the MCU?
I think they're literally just two people. So, like, if we, like, touch, we're not going to explode. Well, like, into flames, you might.
We might.
Yeah, explode somewhere else, but, you know.
All right. Well, on that awkward note, let's get out of here.
Bye.